Talk about low-budget flights, no food or movies? I'm out of here. I like running better. Welcome back, YouTube viewers, to another video. Alright, so before we get into today's topic, I'd like to say that this video might have some choppy audio. I mean, all my videos do, but it might be a little worse than usual. I'm not sure. If it is, I'm just having some computer troubles today. Anyway, so you might be thinking at first glance, really? Archie Sonic fan complaining about the Sonic movies yet again. Gee, he must be running out of ideas. And first of all, I'd like to say that I have been very positive about the third film, as you can tell by this image, and if you watched my review of it back when it came out, which admittedly isn't the best video. I wish I could someday I gotta do a more proper review of the third movie, but anyway, so I was really happy doing my video of rewriting the first phase of the MCU, which, yes, I am going to do a part 2 to that. But even before that, I was thinking, I really want to do this one but for the Sonic trilogy. Because this is one of the most incoherent film series I have ever seen. It had the exact same director across all 3 installments, the same writers across all 3 installments. Okay, the third film had an extra writer, but still. The same actor, same composer. They were all made in the span of 5 years. This, in my head anyway, when you hear those credits, wow, all made by the exact same people, this should be the most coherent trilogy since the Star Wars prequels. But no, it's really not. The first film is a mediocre movie that doesn't really do anything with its source material. The second film does a lot with its source material, but totally mishandles it, and is just an awful film. The third movie does a lot with its source material, and is actually really good. Like, I do have problems with it, as I've talked about those problems before, and I will again today, but I genuinely really enjoy it. So yeah, I'm not just gonna say, give quick reviews of each film. I've done that before. I'm going to tell you how I would fix this trilogy. I'm not just going to try to completely come up with a new idea for each film. Like, oh, I want the first film to be about Knuckles, and the second movie will be about Shadow, and the third will be about Silver and Blaze or something. No. I'm not doing that. I'm going to respect what we got, because I do think there is something really good here. It's just the potential was not realized. Okay, so the first film, I think, needs the most retooling. And for the first film, I'm just going to set a few ground rules. Things that will span the entire trilogy in my rewrite. 1, Eggman will always look how he did it the third act of the third film. He should have the big mustache, have the game-accurate costume. Oh, also he should be fat, because he just isn't for some reason in the third movie. They also got rid of the glasses for some reason. Why do we need to wait until the third act of the third film for Eggman to look like Eggman? That was just so stupid. Also, Tails is going to be a major player in the first film. So, the only game characters that will be here are Sonic, Tails, and Eggman. But I feel like just having Tails already is enough to make this feel, especially with some other things I'm going to talk about, this would feel more like a Sonic movie compared to what we actually got. So, it would, be generally a similar plot to what we did get. So, except Tails would also have been along with Sonic the whole time. So, okay. In this version, it'll be Sonic and Tails were raised by Longclaw on Mobius. Let's just call it Mobius, okay? That'd be a fun reference for the fans, and it would make things better than just Earth and Sonic's world. Like, what the heck? So, yeah. Except you might be thinking, wait, wouldn't Sonic and Tails have to be the same age then? No, we'll just say something like, Sonic was, well, I don't know, 6 or something when he had to leave Mobius in the movie. Let's say Tails is something like 2, I don't know, 1 even, whatever. So the point is, it begins mostly the same. So in this version, Sonic and Tails are given a warp ring. Can we just call them warp rings, please? By Longclaw tells them, okay, you're going to go to Earth. You'll be safe there from these guys who are trying to kill you for your special powers. And then they live on Earth, in Sonic's cave alone, sad. So you might be thinking, well, that's a pretty big change, because isn't the whole point of the first film that Sonic is sad that he has no friends and is completely alone? But if he has Tails, wouldn't that mean he's not alone anymore? So I'm going to sort of stick with that story, but also not really. So Instead, it will be about how, yes, Sonic and Tails do have each other. They grow up like brothers. But even though they have each other, it's still just what? They each only know one other person. They're still basically alone in the world. The two of them want a family. They want, like, parents, I guess, the way they did have on Mobius. Which I'm also doing that because the arc of Sonic and the Wachowskis in the actual films is very messy. Because in the first film, it's just about how Sonic wanted a friend, but then the sequels, it's about how Tom and Maddie are Sonic's adoptive parents. It's just really weird they did that, so I'm just gonna say, okay, from the first film, we are establishing that. Tom and Maddie would be like Sonic and Tails' parents. Boom. So, the movie plays out the same. Sonic and Tails are playing baseball, and they cause a huge power outage that Gun takes notice of, and yes, let's just say it's Gun. No, just random military or whatever. It's Gun. And they bring in Dr. Robotnik to help him out, who does already look like Eggman. And I gotta say this, can we do without Jim Carrey? I really cannot stand this man. I'll say this though, he is pretty good in the first film, so I wouldn't be totally opposed to keeping him in these movies, as long as he actually acts and doesn't just play Jim Carrey, because I hate that. Anyway, so yeah, Sonic and Tails are trying to hide from the military. They meet Tom and Maddie, and they have to get to San Francisco because Sonic and Tails lost their batarangs. Okay. They're getting trailed by Eggman. And his boss, can we just say, maybe look a little more game accurate? Like, they can even be the same designs as they are in the films. Just add some color to them, please. Make them red and yellow or something. Or, heck, give them egg pawns. I don't know. Just anything is better than what we actually got. I don't know. So yeah, they go on this road trip. They get tailed by Eggman. They make it to San Francisco. There's this big battle. Eggman steals one of Sonic's quills to use his speed. But the climax is where I'm going to have to say some tweaks can be made. So throughout this movie, we'll see Sonic and Tails' dynamic is Sonic, while still unsure of himself, is kind of the cool older brother. Tails is kind of nervous about himself. But at the climax, you know the scene in the movie where Tom stands up to Eggman and says, "He's my friend and you're not going to touch him," or whatever. Here, you could have that. You could also have Tails there too, saying, "He's my brother and you're going to step away from him, Eggman," or something like that. I don't know, and then you could still have Sonic do his spin dash and destroy Eggman's ship and send him into the ring to the Mushroom Planet. So, it's still the same plot, but a lot of the details would be different. I don't know about you, but I think this is a way more interesting first film for Sonic, because it actually, even though it still is about Earth and humans and all that stuff, which do belong in Sonic games, but it still has more than just Sonic when it comes to the Mobians. Also, please use more Sonic game music. Like, why is it a thing that it took till the third movie to actually use it in a meaningful way? Also, don't use lame orchestrated versions of it that barely sound like the game music. Just straight up use the game music. Like, use Eggman's theme that appears in 06 Unleashed in Colors. Use that as Eggman's motif throughout the entire trilogy. So, like when Eggman shows up to confront Sonic, Tom, Maddie, and in this version Tails at the top of the building in San Francisco, have them play the do 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 do. I don't know about you, but I think that would make Eggman significantly better because it has presence. Part of the reason a villain like Darth Vader has presence is because of the music. And I think that would go a long way to helping Eggman feel more like a genuine threat in these movies, because he actually did kind of in the first film, but anyway, so, I'm be wondering now, okay, if Tails is just part of the main cast already, what's the post-credit scene gonna be? I'm gonna say you can keep the post-credit scene with Eggman stuck on the Mushroom Planet talking about how he'll be back by Christmas, and showing that he has one of Sonic's quills in the tube. You could also maybe shut up Knuckles, like detecting Sonic's quill or something, I don't know, but you can do something like that. Okay, so that already I think would make for a much better first film. Now, how about the second film? I'm gonna say this one. Okay, so this is probably gonna be the longest out of this whole video because, as you know, the second film is the worst in my opinion. I hate this thing. I have made no secret of that. This is probably one of the most disappointing movies I've ever seen. It's up there with the Ninjago movie in levels of disappointment. Is it as bad? No. But it's still pretty bad. So, I'm just gonna say that, yeah, I like the idea of the whole, we get an adaptation of Sonic 3 and Knuckles, where Knuckles tracks Sonic's quill and finds Eggman on the Mushroom Planet. They team up, go to Earth, kill Sonic, and okay. However, there are some problems that will have to arise here. For example, how is it we gonna do the whole Tails tells Sonic about the Master Emerald thing? I am not entirely sure. Maybe Knuckles could mention it, saying so. Like we'll have Sonic. The movie will begin instead of just being Sonic trying to be a superhero. It's Sonic and Tails. They're like crime-fighting buddies or something. I don't know. And they mess up. We get the whole talk with Tom telling them, "Hey guys, you need to keep your powers in check. One day you're gonna have to grow up and stuff like that." Which, by the way, they would actually mature unlike the final film. But God, whatever. So yeah, Tom and Maddie would leave to go to Maddie's sister's wedding, and while Sonic and Tails are just chilling out at home or something, boom, Knuckles and Eggman show up, beat them up, and Knuckles saying something like, "I will have the Master Emerald Hedgehog!" I don't know. And they're trying to wonder, hey, what's that? And then Sonic remembers that he has this map from Longclaw. Well, he tries to look for clues about the Master Emerald, and he finds this map. And then he finds out about the Legend of the Master Emerald, and there's not going to, also just because there is one in this scene in the actual movie, I'm just going to say this. These movies would not have any of the stupid pop culture references. It's fine to have a couple of those. The problem is that most of them are just really random and don't fit the movie. Also, yeah, we're going to have to dial back the humor. Sonic is supposed to have humor. All movies should have, most movies anyway, should have humor, but these movies just have, this movie especially just has humor at the worst possible points. Like, you're not going to have Sonic hear the legend of the Master Emerald and how the owls and the echidnas went to war and say, "Wow, just like Vin Diesel and The Rock." No. That is stupid. We're getting rid of it. Also, this movie began the tradition of these movies having swear words. Well, why do kids' movies, especially Sonic movies, have those? Like, what does that add to these films exactly? You might be thinking, oh, you're being so preachy. No, come on. Like, whenever I hear them, I just think of Shadow the Hedgehog. We do not need to be reminded of that game. At least not in that way anyway. But okay, so Sonic and Tails, they go on their adventure to find the Master Emerald. We see Knuckles, Robotnik, Stone, which also... Can we drop the weird thing in the second movie that Stone is obsessed with Robotnik? It's genuinely really creepy. In the first film, he barely has any personality. In the third film, they set it up as, okay, Stone just wanted to be Eggman's friend. Got it. But in the second film, it's this weird thing of where I have no idea what his connection to Robotnik is even supposed to be. Maybe that's just me, but it's just really weird to me. I don't know. So yeah, also... We're not going to have this entire wedding subplot. Like, you can keep the scene where it shows Tom talking to his future brother-in-law, I believe it is, Randall, and it's supposed to be setting up how Tails Knuckles are going to be Sonic's wingman, which is what is in the actual film, but we're not going to get this huge scene in the wedding like we actually do. So anyway, Sonic and Tails, they go to the Owl Cave in the snow, an Eggman, and then we cut to a scene of what we do again in the movie where they're at the wedding, and then all of a sudden, Warp Ring opens up, boom, Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Eggman come flying out. And except in my version, we're not going to get this whole thing about how Gunn said, oh, the groom here at this wedding, he's actually a gun agent who we sent to marry a relative of someone who knows Sonic, and Operation Catfish was a success. That is stupid. I hated that. I think even people who love this film hated the wedding subplot. Instead, it would just be simply that Gunn said, okay, so we found out that a relative of the people who are keeping Sonic and Tails in their house is getting married. So we had some gun agents show up to the wedding and get invited. and now Sonic is here, so we're here to capture him. That would be as far as the wedding stuff goes. We can have Tails get knocked out, except the difference here between the final film is that we already had the first film to see Tails, so him getting knocked out halfway through doesn't feel as cheap because we already had a lot of Tails scenes. In the final film, it feels cheap because Tails did nothing to deliver exposition, and then he gets knocked out, and we're supposed to care. But in my version, we already would have seen him as a character, so it would have more of an emotional impact. And yeah, we can do away with the whole Sonic is talking about how he came all the way here to meet his hero, because it doesn't really make sense. Oh, also on the subject of Tails, when there's the whole scene in Siberia with the bar, we're ditching the whole they have a dance off and listen to Uptown Funk. Instead, it would just be they have a fight and maybe some game music plays while they fight the guys, and that would further expand on Sonic and Tails' bond. Okay, yeah, Tails is knocked out. Sonic races across the ocean to get to the Labyrinth Zone Temple. He fights Knuckles. Eggman steals the Master Emerald. Sonic and Knuckles have their chat, and Knuckles becomes a good guy. Tails rescues them, and they go to stop Eggman, who builds a Death Egg robot, and they fight him. The fight here is going to play an instrumental version of Sonic Heroes. Not the vocal theme, because that may be pushing it a bit too much, but we'd still hear the instrumentals of that song, and there would be no lines of Knuckles saying "Go for the groin," and Sonic would say, "Ugh, can you stop saying groin?" I think out of all the dialogue in this film, that was what annoyed me the most. My goodness, who thought that was a good idea? But also, yeah, we'd get Tails and Knuckles are knocked out. Sonic goes super, except he wouldn't instantly destroy the Death Egg robot because, man, it seemed kind of too easy. Eggman would still put up some kind of a fight before being defeated. And his final words wouldn't be, "Later, hater." He'd say, "I hate that hedgehog," which, let's have him say that in earlier scenes too to make this feel less like a cheap reference. And we wouldn't have Sonic say, "Oh, well, I'm giving up this power because I still have some growing up to." He'd say, "You know what? I've learned a lot from this experience. Growing up means you're going to have to accept responsibility, and this power is a huge responsibility, and no one should have it, so I'm giving it up," or something like that. And you get the whole final scene where Sonic tells Knuckles to play baseball together. There'd be none of Knuckles saying, "Oh, the base of the ball." No. I hated that. We're just gonna have them play baseball and Knuckles say, "Yes, I feel like a true warrior," or something. And then we get the exact same post-credit scene where Gun's saying, "Sir, we can't find Robotnik anywhere, but while trying to erase his name from databases, we found out something that was buried 50 years ago. Project Shadow." Okay, I'm just gonna say really quickly, I think if this was what we got, I'd give this movie an 8 out of 10, maybe even a 9, and probably an 8 instead of a 3. I'm not going to try to tell you that, oh, I'm a better writer than these professional Hollywood people, but I will say this. I know, which I'm sure most people know, you shouldn't be undercutting dramatic scenes with cheap jokes, and I know that I am a Sonic fan, and I respect the source material, and I want to see its characters treated seriously. Okay, time for the third film. Let's go. So, as I said before, sorry, it's taking a long time to load. So yeah, I said before that the third movie is easily the best in the trilogy. I think most people would agree on that. So there isn't really a ton that needs to be changed here because the first two films are the real movies that needed to be changed a lot here. The third film was pretty solid, but there are still changes I'd make. Let's talk about the music first. Okay, there are a lot of these fan edits of doing Live and Learn but better, so I'd say that in the scene where Sonic and Shadow are having their heart-to-heart on the moon, we'd hear the instrumental version of Live and Learn, or the acoustic version that we actually do hear earlier in the film. And then when we hear Live and Learn proper, it'd be the 30th anniversary symphony version, which a lot of people have suggested, because it's a movie. Why didn't it play the version of Live and Learn that was done by an actual giant, huge orchestra? Also, can we actually play the song for more than 15 seconds? That'd be nice. During the scene where they play Escape from the City, I'd like to actually be able to hear Escape from the City. Much like what I said with the Sonic Hero song, you don't need to play the vocals, just play the instrumentals. Make it easier for people to hear this iconic song. That'd be way more exciting. I mean, when I first saw this film, I didn't even notice it was in there until I saw the credits where it was listed. Maybe you could all, yeah, play Eggman's theme from 06 Unleashed more, like I suggested earlier. Also, but for Gerald Robotnik, can we not have a scene where he and Eggman look at the camera and say, it's like we're two characters played by the same actor in a movie? And can we please, for the love of God, ditch Eggman's line about all possible genders? Like, what the heck? Why was that here? I feel like that scene was really funny until that line where it's thinking, what? Oh, also, maybe you could make the montage where Eggman and Gerald are bonding a bit shorter. It's necessary, and I'm okay. I know it has to be there, but just make it a little shorter, please. And the original version of their final battle was actually supposed to be a duel between the Robotniks. It wasn't this joke of a fight where you've got Eggman saying, "Wow, a nano fist! I haven't seen that since I hate watched Green Lantern in 2011." Maybe that was the worst line when I first saw this movie. I don't know, but just have it be a real fight. You'll still have some comedy, but have it feel more dramatic. Anything else to change? Oh yeah. So for Shadow, give him some more screen time. Even people who didn't really care for this film, I have a friend Shards of Time. He told me this film was a 5 out of 10, but Shadow was easily the best part and carried some scenes. So yeah, everyone can agree that he didn't quite get enough screen time. During the original plan for the London scene was just to have him sit in the crab with Stone talking about Mexican soap operas, which that was funny, but kind of a waste of Shadow's character. It was supposed to have him stand in the building and see Sonic running across London and then pursue him. You know what? You could even add in the line, "That blue hedgehog again of all places." Not just because we all love that line, we'd go crazy, but it actually would make sense. Give Shadow more to do in the movie where he's the main focus, where get all the marketing is about Shadow the Hedgehog. Anything else? I think that might be about it. Oh yeah, like I said with the music earlier, using Live and Learn more prominently, Escape from the City more prominently. How about make it so that we can actually hear the last scene when they play it? The music that in the final scene of SA2, that is in this movie, but it's really hard to hear. Just play the original. It already sounds plenty cinematic enough. Anything else? I think that is about it. Yeah, because I think what we already got was really strong. So, Eggman teams up with Gerald and Shadow, and then he gets betrayed by them so Gerald can destroy the world with the Eclipse Cannon. We get Shadow's backstory with Marie and everything, which is actually handled really well. We get Sonic getting furious at Tom's almost death and trying to kill Shadow. Oh, about Tom, and I guess Maddie too. The original plan for the scene of them trying to get into Gun was just going to have them shapeshift or disguise themselves as just generic tough guys, which I would much rather see than them as Maddie's sister and her husband. Why did we need to see them again? Also, in my version of these films, that would make less sense. So yeah, it's basically the same plot, even more similar than what I suggested for the first two films rewrites. What about the post-credit scene? Yeah, you could basically keep it the way it is. So yeah, I really enjoyed making this. This is one of my favorite videos, actually, and I'm thinking about while recording this, because these movies were really, the first two were really disappointing, and I think that, because the third film is really good, and I think it truly shows how exceptional this trilogy could have been had it just had a more stable writing team. I don't know if that's the best way to put it. It sounds kind of mean, actually. Just a more consistent writing would be a good way to put it. Have the Sonic game elements featured more so you can tell that this is supposed to be a Sonic movie. Give the characters more to do, remove the really obnoxious humor that doesn't really have a place here. But you can still keep humor, obviously, you need to. And yeah, so that's all I gotta say. comment down below if you have any opinions on what I talked about, because I'm sure you all do. And yeah, the quick word, like I said before, I'm not saying that I am better than these writers. I'm not saying that I am better than Pat Casey and Josh Miller, and I guess Josh Whittington too. I'm not saying I'm better than Jeff Fowler, who, to be fair, did an amazing job directing these films. Because I gotta say this, the biggest problem with these films isn't how they're directed. They're directed beautifully, they actually have genuinely really good special effects. The problem with them is the writing. So yeah, that's all for now. And just remember to stay way past cool.